Have you ever wondered how ancient figures from the Bible would fit into today's personality frameworks? Let's dive into the world of personality types and explore the possibility that some of these characters could have been INFPs. As an INFP personality type myself and a reader of the Bible, I've always felt a sense of kinship with some of the more unconventional and emotionally deep figures in the Bible. While the scripture doesn't explicitly mention Myers-Briggs types, there are quite a few characters who embody the quiet strength and gentle sensitivity of being an INFP. From poets and idealists to empaths and loners, these 5 biblical personalities strike me as having all the makings of being a member of the INFP tribe. John the Apostle. The way John writes, with such profound emotional intelligence and emphasis on higher love, definitely gives major INFP vibes. As the youngest apostle, John was indeed the idealistic dreamer of the bunch. He's called the disciple whom Jesus loved, demonstrating his sensitive and sentimental side. The iconic Bible verse "God is love" that John penned also encapsulates the INFP's core value of valuing empathy and emotional truth above all else. Some other INFP traits we see in John: introspective and spiritually attuned, long to know and relate to God/Jesus on an intimate level, passionate writer and poet, gentle, meek, and non-confrontational, deeply empathetic and emotionally attuned. If John walked the earth today, he'd be a sensitive monk, empathetic therapist, or indie philosophical poet. The Apostle Paul. Alright, I know how this one sounds. Paul being an INFP may seem shocking at first. After all, he was a bold missionary who wrote the bulk of the New Testament. He was very assertive and audacious, not normally INFP traits. However, peeling back the layers, you see that Paul had INFP written all over him. He was an avid deep thinker and seeker of spiritual truth, fueled by what he believed was a sense of idealistic purpose, imaginative and intellectually curious, prone to bouts of loneliness, melancholy, and introspection. Had a holier-than-thou attitude, classic INFP trait. Expressed himself prolifically through writing rich with metaphors. Paul's life's work centered around selfless advocacy for inclusion and egalitarian values, a common motivation for INFPs. So, startlingly, Paul may have been the quintessential INFP messenger and crusader. David, Israel's most legendary king, also gave me major INFP vibes. For all his strength and battlefield valor, David was most known for being a prolific poet and singer-songwriter. He authored most of Psalms. Deeply emotional and in touch with feelings. Went through periods of melancholy and angst. Individualistic and struggled with conformity. Defied traditional roles and expectations. Imaginative daydreamer, was essentially a shepherd poet for many years. Reading David's poems and psalms, you instantly pick up his INFP's gentle spirit and introspective thoughtfulness. Modern-day David would be the philosophical rapper or poet, putting feelings into words. Jeremiah. Dubbed the Weeping Prophet, you simply can't read the book of Jeremiah without getting INFP written all over it. Jeremiah was tasked with being the empathetic, emotional trailblazer, advocating for God's people during one of the darkest, most painful chapters in Jewish history. Being so emotionally invested took a toll on the prophet and fueled his sensitivity. Modern-day Jeremiah would be the thoughtful loner artist who makes melancholy music and writes powerful poetry protesting social ills. Jesus Christ. I saved the most obvious for last. Jesus may have been the Son of God, but he also displayed countless characteristics of an INFP during his earthly ministry. Gentle, kind, and soft-spoken demeanor. Boundless well of empathy and compassion for humanity. Avoided conflict and desired harmony. Found solace in nature and alone time, example, 40 days in the wilderness. Creatively used parables with deep symbolism. Idealistic and rebellious towards religious norms. Deeply emotionally wise and tuned into others' souls. Above all, Jesus' core message was radical love, humility, mercy, and lifelong personal growth, about as INFP as it gets. Even the Bible describes Christ as acquainted with grief, showing his sensitive and soulful side. Jesus embodied the quintessential INFP personality, dedicated to compassion, unconditional empathy, and childlike emotional honesty in many ways.